In this video, we're going to cover installing multiple plugins at one time. This way, we can upload a group of plugins at one time, and the only thing you want to pay attention to here is the structure of the folders you're uploading, because you want to make sure that when you've unzipped those folders from wherever you downloaded them, that the only contents of that folder are the files. In other words, you don't want there to be the folder inside of a folder that contains those files. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Like, for example, inside of here, let me get this into play here. Inside of here, we've got different folders, true, but these are the contents that WordPress is going to be using to make that plugin functional. Because if inside of this folder was another folder named contact-form-7, then it's not going to work, because WordPress is looking for the contents of this folder, not another folder by this name. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, just try it a couple of times, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now you see right now that inside of our plugins dashboard, we've only got the two defaults and the one we just uploaded in the prior video. And the methods we talked about in the prior video were ways in which you can upload plugins one at a time. Not bad for most folks, but this method you can upload multiple plugins at one time, which comes in really handy if you have several blogs or you're working for somebody that deals with the business of blogging and you have a group of plugins that you are consistently uploading. So this way you don't have to do those one at a time. You can just use your FTP client, and I've already logged into my website via the FTP client, and now then you just navigate to the location of your blog where it's installed at, and in my case it's public_HTML, and we're looking for the WP-content folder. Open that up. Then the plugins folder, we open that up, and here are the plugins that we have so far, plus the index.php, which we covered in our security videos earlier. Now over here are the plugins that I'm going to be uploading. Quite simple. You just select the plugins and upload them. And in my case, I'm going to select the top one, hold the shift key down, then select the bottom one, right click, and then left click on upload. And oh yes, I am installing the Akismet over this one, so yes to all. Normally what I would do is I would delete everything in here except for the index.php and then upload, because that way I normally delete the Hello Dolly plugin anyway. Sorry Matt, that's just how I roll, and just upload the package of plugins, so that way I can just start from scratch. But that's just me. Anyway, so no big deal. I'm overwriting this one, and I believe that that's a newer version that I've got over here anyway than what this one was, but through the magic of video, this will only take a second. And there we have it, completely uploaded. And now then, let's head on over to our blog. Now, one thing I want to mention as well, that so far I've been kind of harping on the power and the beauty behind the WordPress plugins. I do need to mention though that there is possibly a dark side of the plugins as well. Not that big of a deal, but it bears mentioning. And that is that the more plugins you add to your blog, the more work your server is going to have to do. Now this work is measured in milliseconds, so it's not that much of a deal, but I do need to mention though that it may affect, however slightly, it may affect the load time of your blog depending upon what type of plugins and how many plugins you have. There may be other ways in which you can get the same function without using plugins, but that might require additional knowledge or coding the actual blog itself rather than adding those snippets of code in the form of a plugin. Myself, I know beans about the coding, so for me, I think it's a small sacrifice for the millisecond or two of load time added to my blog loading than for me trying to find somebody that can add this particular code to my blog without having the plugins. But it does bear mentioning. And also, some plugins tend not to play nice with one another, so if you encounter problems with certain plugins or a plugin not working, you will be alerted to that fact by an error message up at the top here for whatever reason, and it may even give you a particular line of that plugin's code that is affecting that it's not working, in which case you want to just start off by contacting the creator of the plugin. You've got their information right here, and then they'll be able to, in most cases, give you the support you need to get that plugin working, or to tell you, it ain't gonna work, not the way you've got things set up. So that's just a little bit of info that I haven't told you about, but I think does need to be mentioned. So you may not want to go hog wild on just loading your site up with a bunch of plugins if you find out that you're not going to be using them. Just delete those you're not going to be using. For example, I never use Hello Dolly. Sorry, Matt, I just don't. So I just delete it. But that's that. And let's go ahead and refresh the page, and I'll show you all those plugins that have been uploaded. So you can see now this has changed. Upgrades available. There's 6 upgrades available. That's one of the things I wanted to show you too. Is if we go to our, and this I believe only works with the version 2.9 of WordPress. Anything in the 2.8 or older, this I don't think has this feature. But under the tools, if you go to upgrade, it gives you the plugins you can upgrade all right here, whereas in the olden days you'd have to upgrade the plugins one at a time. This way you can just select all, click on upgrade, bing bang boom. Okay, bing bang boom. It'll do it right here, and we're done. That's how simple and easy it was to upgrade 6 plugins all at one time. Head on back over to the plugins page. So I'm going to go ahead and activate all of these except for Hello Dolly. And once you've checked those you want to get activated, come on up here to bulk actions, and as I pointed out earlier, just select activate, click on apply. And it's at this point that you'll get some error messages up here if you've got some plugins that are not wanting to play nice with one another. This is just telling me that one of the plugins needs to be further configured, no problemo, we'll get to that in a second, and that this one here needs some additional looking into prior to it working, as well as the Akismet. And here it just tells you that the selected plugins have been activated. Now if we scroll down here, we can see that the only options we have now are deactivate and edit, because you cannot delete an activated plugin. You have to actually deactivate it first. Now of course if you wanted to get technical, you can in fact come on back to your FTP client, select the ones you want to delete here, and then click on the delete button. So that's just one way in which you can delete it as well without it being deactivated if you want to get technical. But that's basically it. That's how you can install multiple plugins at one time, and depending upon the plugin and the functions for that plugin, you would have additional options over here, settings for those particular plugins. And for example, under settings, you might find some additional info on some of the plugins, like the WP status. That was one that we installed earlier. The Google Analytics. Now in the upcoming videos, we're going to go into greater detail on individual plugins, how to configure them, what they're used for, what the benefit is, and hopefully you stay tuned for those. Those are going to be the fun ones. Not that this one wasn't fun. I had fun. So thank you very much for watching this video, and you have a great day.